Welcome to Get Real with Alabama Wedding Vendors. I'm Danny Brewer. Focus today is Imaginations Photography. I'm here with Gale Kirkpatrick with Imaginations. Tell me how you guys got in the business.
Well, I've always had a desire for photography. Even as a child, I was the one always taking pictures. As I got older, I just continued to pursue that, and about 7 or 8 years ago, I actually started a business in photography and just continued to grow with it.
What's your favorite thing about photography? When you're talking to a bride and she's sitting there and she's trying to figure out between you and somebody else, what is one of the things that you really want the bride to understand about Imaginations?
Our work is going to be professional. It's something that we put our heart into it, and it's not just a picture, but it's something that's going to capture how they're feeling and their emotion. And when they look at those portraits, that they're not going to think about, oh, I remember when the photographer was taking that picture, but they're going to be looking at that portrait thinking, oh, I remember what we were thinking when we were being, that they were into each other. And I don't want their day to be about remembering me. I want their day to be about me capturing how they felt in their emotion. And I want that to be something very memorable to them.
Have you got an interesting story that you've ever, a wedding that was one that just kind of stands out?
A lot of them do stand out. We did one very, very early on where the couple were in a biker club. And so when they left, she actually had on her wedding dress, was on the back of the bike. Her dress was just flowing off the back. My husband, John, was driving our car, and I was hanging out the back with the camera, photographed them going down the road with her dress, and she had a very long train, and it was just absolutely beautiful. And then on top of that, you've got nearly 50 bikers that are just escorting them down Highway 119 and over in the Alabaster area. And I have to say, we don't do that every day.
Not too many brides want to take a dress where they spend, nothing on it or thousands of dollars and let it float in the wind on the back of a motorcycle.
She even had on her biker boots and her gloves, and it was great.
Well, one of the big things about photography in the Alabama market is being featured. I did some research and I found that you guys have been featured in several different magazines. What does that do for you? Does it help you guys out? Is that a matter of pride for you all?
Well, I have brides several brides that have actually brought in, a book, like a booklet, and they'll have pages they've torn out of magazines. And it might have some of my work and other work that they have found in different magazines. And they don't want me to do that same picture. They just want for me to understand what their style is, what their vision is. And that helps me a lot to understand them. I mean, not only just talking to them, but when they can show me a picture of what their vision is for their wedding day.
So when it comes down to the actual wedding day itself, the rehearsal dinner the night before and everything is ready to go, the alarm clock goes off on the day, what one piece of advice would you give that bride?
To chill out. Have a fun day. If a flower falls off the cake, just flow with it. If someone's not on time, smile and just remember that this is your wedding day. And don't let those little things overwhelm you so that you're not having fun. You want to look back and remember that your wedding day was the most wonderful day of your life. You can get so overwhelmed with the little details that later you'll get to looking back thinking, it really wasn't that important. Not so important to have ruined the memories of your wedding day.
Right. I've noticed that in brides before. They're kind of stressed out, and it does show up in the photos, and it shows up for years and years because once you take that photograph, it doesn't go away. You can't go back and change it.
Yeah, I mean, you want that relaxed, fun look in their expressions and their body language, and just be relaxed and have fun. And the most important thing is that you're there with your new husband, your new family, and just have a beautiful time.
We're here with Gale Kirkpatrick, Imaginations Photography, and on your website you had extreme shots. Is that something you do with weddings, or is that something else?
Well, it's extreme shoots. It's our high school senior photography.
That's a good idea. You're working with these high school seniors. They're getting married 3-4 years down the road. Mm-hmm. So if they can understand that, hey, you do believe and want to create a unique vision for their wedding day, then when they get married, there's a future bride for you.
Yes, and we are photographing weddings now that we've known them for several years and have worked with them, and sometimes we photograph their families or photograph them as a high school senior. Sometimes they're in pageant stuff, they needed pageant shots, and then when they go to get married, we're one of the first ones that they're going to be calling. It's really nice to be able to have that relationship with them so that you can continue on with it. And now I'm actually photographing their babies.
Oh, wow.
So it is a relationship.
It's a long-term relationship. So when it comes down to being a photographer in Alabama, the difference between what some people might call a professional or amateur or somebody just getting in the business. You mentioned earlier 7 or 8 years of this. I'm sure you remember some organizations to benefit that. What kind of organizations do you participate in?
Well, we are a member of the PPA, Professional Photographers of America, and they have a lot of resources for us so that, when we need certain types of resources to help us in our business, they're there for us. Learning materials. They just really help us to continue to climb higher in our profession and to always improve what we do. We're insured, and
that's important these days. Insurance, a lot of brides don't understand that, they're the one that has signed a contract, and their dad's name is on a contract with a venue. And if you have a wedding vendor that steps on that property and just makes a mistake, a human error,
that's true.
You being an insured business, that's going to benefit the bride. So that's part of what every bride should make sure they have is work with insured vendors.
And work with a professional vendor, somebody that really knows what they're doing. It's got professional equipment. Just because someone has a camera does not make them a professional. Just because you've shot some good pictures does not make you a consistently professional photographer. And there are so many different venues that we shoot in. Some have good lighting, some have horrible lighting. So that means that we have to bring in extra lighting. And when we show up for a wedding, not only do we have equipment, but we have backup equipment. There has been a couple of times I've been shooting formals. I don't know what happened to my light, but it did light me at that moment, went out, and within probably 2 minutes, we've picked up another light, switched them out, and kept on going. The wedding party barely knew that we had skipped a beat. But if you've got a photographer that's only shooting on a part-time basis, that's just got a camera, they barely have the proper equipment sometimes, and they don't have backup equipment.
I have had the hobbyist photographer at a wedding, and I've had the professional photographer wedding. Huge difference. Huge difference. I have been we're performing the ceremony music before, where they wanted the DJ to do the music for the ceremony, and I've noticed the photographers that didn't know what shots to take. I've seen issues with lighting and stuff like that. So you touched on the hobbyist versus the professional, and I think that's a very valid point, that when any bride is looking, the years of experience, definite factor they need to look into. The insurance, the professionalism, all those things. So, Imaginations Photography, I'm here with Gale, and John is her husband. They shoot together on tag team, a lot of events, and I've worked with them several times. Gale, when it comes down to telling a bride, about Imaginations, what one or two things would you want them to know when it comes to the final decision on choosing you versus another photographer? Give me a couple of things that says, hey, we're there for you.
We can go full circle with them. So if they're wanting albums, we can take care of that. We've got several sources so that regardless of what type of album that they would be interested in, we're going to be able to provide that. We can provide top quality in portraits.
What's the best way to get in touch with you all?
Well, we have a web address. It's www.imaginationsweddings.com. So it's a website that's totally dedicated to weddings, and we try to put as much information on there that we can so that the bride is able to be well educated even prior to contacting us. Our phone number is 205-995-3474.
All right, so once again, thanks to Gale Kirkpatrick and her husband John with Imaginations Photography. John's out working hard today while Gale came in for the interview. But once again, check her website out, give her a call. If she can be of service to you all, we highly suggest that you do your shopping and include Gale as one of your potential candidates to look at her albums. So Gale, thanks again for coming out this afternoon. We appreciate
Thank you
your
so
time.
much. Glad to be here.